say to yourself, you say, look at me now, you see me a bad thing. First class baby, you know me status. Super icon, me no need to practice. Walking around, everybody wants this. When you see me coming, better powder for me. Window come for a flower for me. I'm looking at a girl in a mirror, and this is what she said to me. She said, woman, the one in a billion. She a queen, she a vision. Pretty woman, beautiful woman, so fine she causing confusion. Keep your head up, no room now. You say to yourself, say, sure you want cause it's something. With the way you do for your body, OD. Fine girl, no responsive. First babe when you run this. Naughty, sexy girl, go the hurt yourself. Not for nobody else. See the girl in a mirror. This what she said to me. She said, you say to yourself, you say, look at me now, you see me a bad thing. First class baby, you know me status. Super icon, me no need to practice. Walking around, everybody wants this. When you see me coming, better powder for me. Window come for a flower for me. I'm looking at a girl in a mirror, and this is what she said to me. She said, woman, the one in a billion. She a queen, she a vision. Pretty woman, beautiful woman, so fine she causing confusion. Keep your head up, no room now. You say to yourself, you say, sure you want cause it's something with you. You say to yourself, you say, look at me now, you see me a bad thing. First class baby, you know me status. Super icon, me no need to practice. Walking around, everybody wants this. When you see me coming, better powder for me. Window come for a flower for me. I'm looking at a girl in a mirror, and this is what she said to me. She said, woman, the one in a billion. She a queen, she a vision. Pretty woman.
That affect women's lives, minds, and our future. Today's conversation is very important to me because while we talk a lot about women's physical health and responsibilities, mental health remains one area that many women ignore until they are completely overwhelmed. Let me take a break from my scripts and just speak to the guest that I have today. My guest is a very powerful woman, and I know what I'm talking about. She's a woman of God. Let me start by that, but we're not going to dwell on that today because the part of her that is speaking to us today is the professional mental health expert. That's the person we're talking to today. We're not talking to, but I know that the woman of God is still going to speak to us as well. So she's someone that is very important to me, and I always love to say that on this program I look out for women who had value, and because I do things experientially, I have brought a woman that I personally have encountered, and I know that she's someone that has a heart for women, someone that you're going to listen to, and whatever situation it is that you feel that you're going through, I'm sure that she's going to speak to something about that situation. So just sit back and listen to the program today. But then I need to just set the context for the conversation that we're having. So now I'm going back to my script. As women, we are expected to cope with everything: family, work, finances, relationship, and even emotional labor. Yet, many women are quietly battling anxiety, depression, burnout, trauma, and emotional exhaustion. It's just a lot. So today on the program, I'm asking, Why must women intentionally pay attention to their mental health? Because before it begins to affect every other area of their lives. Earlier today I was listening to Chioma Fakorede. I don't know if you know her. And she was talking about her challenges and her struggles with mental health. I'd heard about, snippets of the challenges that she had gone through before, but then listening to her directly today, it touched a part of me, because I was just trying to set the context, for today's show, and I had to go and listen to that interview. And she talked about bipolar. She talked about panic attacks. She mentioned a few things that I'm sure, depression, and then she even mentioned that there was a time that she had to go to a psychiatry home, I think, and it was just a lot. But the part that touched me most, that touched the lover girl part of me rather, where she said that when she met her husband, she said to him that this is what I'm going through. Told him about the mental health issue that she has, and the man said it's fine. And I was like, so there are still men like this, that really touched me. And as the conversation progressed, she kept referring to how her husband had even said that the fact that he had to live with her had taught him patience, because normally he's someone that does not suffer fools, and that he doesn't really tolerate, when someone will throw tantrums and all of that. But because he had a wife like that who is going through mental health issues, he had come to that point where he tries to understand her, her moods when she's down, when she's up there, and he's tried to accommodate her. So I don't know, it's part of what we're going to talk about, because if we're talking about the mental health of women, it also has to do with the people around us as well, because there's no way a woman is not doing well mentally that is not going to affect the people around her. And then for someone who is married, for instance, there's no way it's not going to get to the husband, the children and all of that. And that's why in one of my posts I said that I would love men to listen to this show, because it will help them to understand the women in their lives better. So I've digressed a lot, but then I believe that we're still setting the context for today's show. So I have not introduced my guest, but I'm just going to do that in a bit. To guide us through today's conversation, I am joined by a highly experienced mental health professional, like I had mentioned earlier. Her name is Motolani Akintayo. She's a clinical psychologist and mental health expert whose client reach spans the United States, the United Kingdom, and several African countries. She's a professional life coach with the Chartered Institute of Coaching and Mentoring Nigeria, a United Nations 1000 Peace Ambassador for Girl and Women Speak Advocacy, and the Managing Director of Diamond Moore Psychological Firm in Nigeria. Motolani trained at Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Aro, Abeokuta, and University College Hospital, Ibadan. She's a distinction graduate of clinical psychology from the University of Ibadan. Yeah, with a doctorate in view. Yeah, that's so proud of you. So now, I'll just allow her to say something to us briefly before we go on our first music break. So, my people would like to meet you. Just say something. 1 or 2 sentences will be fine.
Okay, so I'm sure you were looking at me from across the table. How I was so engrafted in every single word that you sent, from that end. And I must tell you, I'm also very proud of what you do, how you do it, and your passion for women. I've always known you to be one woman who is passionate about life, and I'm absolutely so excited to be part of what you do. And I know that this is going to be the least of what you would ever be, Ma. Thank you so much for having me. I'm optimistic that today's show is not just going to be a conversation, but it's going to heal a lot of women and men equally.
I hope so too. So we just go for a short music break, and when we return, we'll go into the flesh of the conversation. Thank you. Stay tuned.
Don't know when I'm coming back. I'll be gone for a little while, but I will keep myself for me and you. I'll be back for you. I don't know what the future brings, but I want you to be with me. I put a hope on praising if you wait for me, 'cause I'll come back for you. You hold my love, you are my praise, and now run to the finish line. My love, I don't go leave you, I don't go bounce, you're gone. You'll be always on my mind. Yeah, yeah, I'll be so far away. Promise you'll wait for me. Think of you every day, my love. Yeah, yeah. I may not come today, but I'll be with you again. I will pray for you every day, my love. Yeah, yeah. As I'm leaving you behind, I'm gonna miss your smile and the joy you bring to my wretched soul. Your love, it makes me whole. This our love will never die. Darling, promise you will be mine. See, I did do these things for you and me. I'll come back for you. You hold my love, you are my praise, and I'll run to the finish line. My love, I don't wanna leave you alone. I don't go bounce your call. You'll be always on my mind. Yeah, yeah, I'll be so far away. Promise you'll wait for me. I will think of you every day, my love. Yeah, yeah. I may not come today, but I'll be with you again. I will pray for you every day, my love. Yeah, yeah.
Whoa, I was enjoying that music. Like, there's something music does to your mood. It just sort of shifts it. Like, if you're down, there's a way it brings you up, and then the atmosphere. So there's so much to talk about today, but then let me quickly allow my guest to say one or two things about what she does before I ask her my questions.
Okay, so once again, thank you for having me. My name is Motolani Akintayo. I'm a clinical psychologist and a mental health expert. I think that's okay for short, so that we can have enough time to talk about the real thing.
All right, thank you so much. Like I said the other time, I consider it a great privilege to have you on the show today. So my first question, from experience as a clinical psychologist, especially working with women across different countries, like you have said, how do women's mental health challenges usually come across, and why are they often ignored or misunderstood? You hear people say things like pray more, if you pray enough, maybe that depression will lift. I know prayers, does work, worship songs and all of that, but then there's a way people tend to downplay what women go through, especially when it comes to the issue of depression. I was talking the other time about the woman who said she had bipolar. So let me allow you to engage the question.
Okay, so thank you very much. When we talk about women's mental health, according to WHO, I think I have a statistics here. It says globally, women are almost twice as likely as men. Twice, please note that, as men to experience depression and anxiety disorders, according to the World Health Organization. So that's just beyond talking theoretically, but based on statistics. So when women present with mental health, often it comes subtly, because like I tell people, our gender is a kind of gender that it's so very easy to plaster our faces with makeups, and then but right inside of us we are splitting, so and because of that, the environment, the society has socialized coping to women. So, it's easy for people to look at a woman and then feel that what you are just going through is just motherhood. I've heard someone, call me from diaspora and then said she's a nursing mother. And then someone said to her that, are you the first person to give birth? Sometimes women are neglected because people have a wrong narrative about what a woman is going through. Sometimes people interpret it as just hormonal shifts, mood swing, or laziness, or a woman is just being difficult. So all this societal stereotypes makes it very difficult, to actually address the mental struggles that women are really going through.
So thank you very much. As you're talking, there's something that came to my mind, and I think it was something I talked about earlier in the day when I was listening to that interview I talked about, and it's the fact that there are a lot of women who are probably undiagnosed, of the mental health challenges that they go through. And there are people who are self-aware. I like to also say that I'm self-aware, like to an extent. I know when I'm not functioning like the way I should function emotionally, But then we know that it goes beyond knowledge. There are times that you probably think that, for instance, the lady was saying she thought she had depression, that in fact at the point they actually diagnosed her for depression. But then when she now went to see experts, they told her that it was bipolar that she had, and that at the point she had to go to a psychiatry, hospital and all. But the first thing that comes to our mind when you hear people say mental health is she's running mad, she's going crazy. And that's where this question is going to come from, because really it's not a question I have pinned down, but how do we correct that impression, like especially when someone says something about their mental health and the next thing people are thinking about is maybe she's
Okay, so let me quickly put a note to that, and that's why we are doing a lot of advocacy and awareness, so that people can change that narrative about what exactly mental health is. I tell people that the only thing most people knows as mental health is what we call psychosis. Psychosis has to do with hallucination, delusion. Hallucination,
like hearing voices.
Yes, hallucination talks about hearing voices or seeing things in clear consciousnness that other people are not seeing. Delusion has to do with having very strong beliefs, that are not true, that are false. And then, of course, this may be accompanied at different times with disorganized behavior. Those are the things that people know as mental health. However, under mental health diagnosis or disorders or issues, as the case might be, are broader spectrums, that people are not aware of. Talk about mood disorders. The most common that people mention is depression. We have the anxiety disorders. We have trauma. We have substance use. We have sexual disorders. We have a number of them, right? Panic attacks. Yes, panic attacks and all that. Then at this point, I need to mention that when we talk about mental health, right, we talk about how an individual think, anything that affects how an individual thinks, anything that affects how an individual feel, and anything that affects the way an individual behaves.
Which is why management is very important.
So I might have a problem with the way I think, maybe because I'm going through certain things and I'm not necessarily having psychosis. It's still under mental health. I might be having I might not be balanced in the way I'm feeling, maybe because I just lost someone, right? And then I'm feeling so disoriented, and it's under mental health, and I'm not necessarily crazy, in quotes, and I'm not having psychosis.
And it shouldn't stop me from living a normal life.
Did you get? So we need to move on from that idea that mental health has to do with madness. Mental health does not mean madness.
Thank you very much. You got it. So now let's talk about the common disorders among women. I know that you work extensively with women who have mood disorders, depression, anxiety, like you have said the other time. So what would you say are the most common mental health issues that you have worked with? I mean, in women, the most common ones, like let's pick one or two.
Okay.
The most common ones.
So
and let's add this, and what usually triggers them.
Okay, all right. So not just that I have seen, but even according to World Health Organization, and many of the statistics that we have seen, because we like to work with statistics, depression happens to be one of the most common diagnoses that women, come down.
Depression.
Yes, depression. Though the word has been overutilized, because a lot of people do not even understand what depression means. So that I am sad does not mean I'm depressed, right? So that word flies around so much. And of course, because you mentioned two, so we can talk about trauma. Yeah. Okay. So in more extensive term, we can say post-traumatic stress disorder. That's when a person has been exposed to a traumatic event, and then the person begin to present certain symptoms. So when we talk about depression, I like to tell people that according to Diagnostic Statistical Manual for mental health disorders, depression has about 12 symptoms.
Wow.
Right? So, and before a person can be diagnosed as having depression, a person must have satisfied at least 4 to 5.
So you cannot just sit there in one place and say I have depression.
Exactly. You get? So you can't pick one of the symptom and say, oh, because I'm sad, right, I have depression. You have to be assessed by a professional who will assess you based on the symptoms and see if these symptoms are actually present or not. So talking about the triggers, time will fail me to start mentioning the symptoms of depression. Yeah, maybe a few: loss of appetite, or eating too much, as the case may be. Insomnia or hypersomnia. Insomnia has to do with loss of sleep. Hypersomnia has to do with sleeping too much, right? Yeah. Then fatigue, excessive fatigue, feeling tired. Then loss of interest in pleasurable activities. That means things that you love to do before, you suddenly begin to lose interest, in doing them. Sadness for most of the for most days of the week, and then it must have consistently happened for about 2 weeks, before we can. In extreme cases, of course, we have loss of concentration and the rest of them. Then we have suicidal ideation in extreme cases. But let me move on to the things that, and of course, when we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, or people that have been exposed to certain traumas in time past, you want to talk about people having flashbacks, reliving experience. Some of them feel like they are experiencing, for example, women that have gone through experiences of rape. Some of them experience irritability. If they are in marriage, they just get angry. Sometimes they just don't want to see the male gender, and so many other things like that. So what are triggers of many of this what's it called, diagnosis, that women come down with? From my experience, number one, relationship stress. It's heavy. I tell you. A lot of times women come down with some of this disorders because they are either exposed to emotional neglect. In fact, before coming on this radio show, whatever I tend to hear, it's a privilege for me, as a professional, because I tell people that speaking out is strength, is not weakness. So for everybody that comes out, I salute them. I doff my hat for them. Is a move from the normal status quo, and the rigid mentality that asking for help is a sign of weakness, And just before I came, I know, one of the key factors that brought this person to therapy is emotional neglect. All right. So emotional neglect, relationship problem, domestic violence, in marriage, then work stress, excessive burnout, economic crisis, hardships. These are the things that usually trigger. Yes, I'm telling you, that trigger women, to come down with some of this diagnosis.
Let's just it's Melody FM, so we'll take some music to step down again before we come back. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.
I go be your superwoman. You go carry me go the altar. Money day or money no day, I go still there for. I go still.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome back. This is Melody 100.7 FM, and you're still listening to the Women's Shelf Star with Oluwatoyin Adeyemi. My guest today is a clinical psychologist, and her name is Motolani Akintayo. She's the one that we've been listening to for a while now. And then now we're just going to go into relationships, family, and work-related issues. I know you work a lot with couples and families. I know it's an integral part of the work that you do. But how would you say that untreated mental health can affect a woman's marriage, especially issues like parenting, and then, okay, maybe we should just take that too for now, untreated mental health. A lot of people don't even, I was saying the other time, they don't even know that they have these issues. Many people will just complain and say that you behave somehow sometimes, or they say they have mood swings. But then let's just look at how, when these issues are not properly diagnosed, then I know it's an expert that can do that. So if people refuse to find help, if you notice some strange behaviors, like you have said the other time, maybe you are sad for most times in the week. I know you mentioned that you are not sleeping properly. You are probably sleeping too much. At least you will know if the things that used to interest you no longer interest you. I know those are some of the things you listed. So if those things are not treated, how can it affect a woman's marriage, for instance? How can it affect parenting? And especially these days, I say the days are dark now, and more than ever before, we have to be more intentional as parents. So now, if you as a parent, you are going through mental health challenges that you are not even aware of, or you are aware of, or you're probably not paying attention to, how can it affect those parts of your life?
Thank you so very much, Oluwatoyin. So again, untreated mental health issues affect a lot because mental health is actually the bane of life. I tell people that mental health is not like physical health, where it's easy to touch the person's body and say, "Oh, you're hot."
Temperature.
Yeah, your temperature is high. So most times it presents itself in our day-to-day activities if we leave them untreated. And for example, in marriage, a person may have intense irritability. And that is God, you jumped the gun, right? A person at any little thing, a person gets angry in a way that is not proportionate to the issue at hand. Yeah, right? And then if you're not careful as a spouse, you're just wondering, why is this lady always angry? Why is she so touchy? Why is she aggressive? It could just be a pointer that there's something that is not being treated, or there's something that is left unaddressed. Sometimes in marriage, it could present as withdrawal. It could present as lack of connection. There's nothing you're doing. The woman is not just getting your point. She prefers to stay alone. She would not communicate. The bonding is not there. Isolation. It could, sincerely, I tell you, it boils a lot down on the marriage system. And then talking about parents, this bleeds my heart a lot, because the children happen to be the minor in marriage, and many of them do not really understand that the reason for what they are experiencing. I've heard some people come into therapy and say that while they were young, they saw their mom transfer the aggression of the marital crisis that their mom was having on them, and then that was accompanied by excessive beating, and that left some children, that left scars.
Emotional scars.
Oh my God.
I can imagine.
That left scars that, even as successful as those children have become, those scars have left an indelible mark, that they are still trying to treat today. So under parenting, it can really become an issue. And of course, when it comes to work, for a woman, I've had women who overfunction because some things are left untreated. So an individual can, most of the time, because success can be a facade to what a woman is going through. success can be a facade to what a woman is going through. So because the woman is portraying being over functional, it might be very difficult to see that she's actually hiding.
Strong black woman.
So that can also be a pointer, or an adverse effect of an untreated mental health issue.
And I don't want us to leave out this part. Thank you very much. That actually shed a light on so many things for me as a person. But what about personal relationships? I mean, not even just marriage. We're talking about workplace performance now. You have to relate with people. There are people who cannot keep relationships. Like, I'm talking about friendship, not even romance or anything, like, does it affect that too? Like, are there things that people do that you can also to an extent know that, I need help? For instance, maybe you don't have friends, like people you can even trust enough to say that, okay, this is what I'm going through, or you're overly suspicious. No, don't let me. I want you to speak to it as a professional.
Again, we have diagnoses that are under the auspices of personality disorders.
Okay.
While it might not be a full-blown personality disorder per se, it could be a trait. It could be a feature, right, that may actually affect a person's interpersonal relationship.
Okay.
For example, a person with a paranoid personality trait feature, even though it may not have become a full-blown disorder, will be very mistrustful, and then may suspect any little sign of care coming from.
What do this person want?
Exactly. So even when somebody is showing you that care, you're like, there must be something this person is on lookout for. I have to be very, very careful. So while again I need to mention that one symptom is not enough to label yourself and say, because I'm mistrusting, I now have paranoid personality feature. No. So we are just saying certain features that might come with some traits, right? So for somebody who is antisocial, this person cannot stand with rules, especially in the workplace.
Okay.
So say that this is the company rule, the person will do the exact opposite.
Which will definitely affect.
People with borderline personality disorder have consistently reported a pervasive pattern of inconsistent interpersonal relationship. Then there is this one again that I've presented a lot in therapy: dependent personality. People that present with dependent personality features, they need excessive assurance before they can do even what they have the capacity to do. So a lot of times they tend to attach to a significant order, and when people are used to sensing dependence, unfortunately they tend to fall into the hand of people that will exploit, manipulate and take advantage.
And life is supposed to be give and take.
Yes.
Symbiotic relationship.
Exactly. So because of that, they can experience very, very fatal issues in interpersonal relationship, vis-a-vis work or social community, or even church or mosque, as the case might be.
Wow. Thank you so much. Like you said, mental health is a big one. I mean, it's not something that we can finish today, but at least we are talking about it, and I'm sure that someone who has one issue or the other should be able to know that maybe they should reach out to a professional now.
Definitely.
Because from the things we're talking about, if someone has a problem now, you should be able to know that, okay, these are pointers.
Yes.
And we are not saying you have a problem yet, but then you are picking one or two things, and if you feel like these things can affect your productivity as a person, it could affect your, how to put it now, your efficiency, how well you can do well in life, and maybe you would want to consider reaching out to a mental health practitioner, which is what this show is all about. Like, we're trying to answer that question: why should you take your mental health very seriously as a woman? So I hope someone out there is picking one or two things from our conversation so far. Should we go for another music break? All right, let's take it, and we'll be back in a bit. questions. Technical.
She a queen, she a vision. Pretty woman, beautiful woman, so fine she causing confusion. Keep your head up, no look down. You say to yourself, you say, look at me now, you see me a bad thing. First class, baby, you know me status. Super icon, me no need to practice. Walking around, everybody wants this. When you see me coming, better bow down for me. Window, come pour a flower for me. I'm looking at a girl in a mirror.
Okay, so now we'd open the phone lines, but then we'll still continue our conversation so that even if the calls have not started coming in, you can still call in when you have one or two questions that you want to ask us. So I'll just call the studio lines now. 07025201007. You can start jotting down your questions. So if there's one or two things bothering your mind that you'd like to ask the professional in the house, I'd like you to just call in and ask your questions any moment from now. You can just call in. 07025201007. 07055071007. 07055071007. So now let's talk about seeking help and healing, which is a part of this conversation that really or how do I put it now? It's a part of this conversation that I'm particular about anyways, because at the end of the day, we're looking for solutions to whatever it is that people are going through. So from your clinical practice, when do you think a woman should seek professional help? Like me, if I used to write this a lot, and I would just say, please get help, go for therapy, and okay, don't let us even go to that part. And what should we expect from therapy? I'm talking about, when should a woman seek for professional help? When should they seek rather professional help? And then what should we expect from therapy? What can therapy do for you if you go for therapy? If you seek this psychological support, when you notice some of these things that we have discussed in your life, when should you go for that help, and what can that help do for you as a woman?
Okay, so thank you very much. So let me answer the first question, which is about what a person should, at what point should a woman go for therapy?
Yeah,
Is it okay to answer the question?
Yes,
now?
please go ahead.
Okay, all right. So at what point should a woman go for therapy? So again, a person, we are trying to bring the conversation to a point where, just the same way you notice that the person is having temperature,
okay,
and then you say that, oh, go and see the doctor. Or when you see that a person is having headache, you say, okay, go and use paracetamol.
Okay.
In context.
Okay.
We want to get to that point where people can easily be told without having that stigma idea.
Mm-hmm.
That, oh, you're going through this, why don't you see a therapist?
Mm-hmm.
We want to normalize that conversation, because really we all need therapy at some point in life.
Yeah.
So at any point where you feel that your functioning is being affected, your productivity is being affected. Productivity can cut across the wheels of life, and when I talk about the wheels of life, I talk about maybe your functionality spiritually, your functionality in the family system, your functionality on your job, your functionality financially, your functionality in your health, right? Yeah. or your functionality in social network. So at this point, when you begin to realize that certain things, are not efficient enough, please seek for help. right, seek for help. And of course, we have mentioned some symptoms earlier that would say that they are quite common, as manifestations of
if you
mental
notice patterns.
Yes, of mental health issues.
Yeah.
Please, these are alarms
Yeah,
to tell you that
Okay. Please, can you hold that thought? We have a call now.
okay.
Hello. Good. We lost it. Sorry. Okay. Whoever is trying to call you, please call back. We'll really, really love to hear from you. I'm sorry for cutting that flow of thoughts. I hope you'll be able to get on here back. Okay.
Okay, yes. So, your second question talked about what does therapy have to offer?
What can it do for you?
Yeah, it
Let
reminds
me cut in a little bit.
Okay, please.
For me now, I remember that conversation we had. I felt lighter, and that discussion that we had. Like I can remember, was it the first one or the second one when we went to that place that we went to? That discussion helped me to actually answer some questions myself. As you're asking those questions, and I was providing answers to them. There were parts that I'd never really connected. That even without you talking, as I was talking about it, maybe because I'm a self-aware person, anyways, I was able to connect some dots. Yeah. So that's what you did for me.
Thank you for the feedback.
So. But now let's hear more from you.
Okay, so I just want to read. I want to read a feedback from one of my clients who has given the permission to share the feedback. However, name undisclosed. That's one of the things that you should expect from therapy. Confidentiality.
Okay.
Whatever you say in therapy stays there. Now listen to this. It says, "Good afternoon. I want to especially appreciate the good job you did with my children in the last few weeks after I decided to leave my spouse. My fear has always been that the transition will take a toll on their emotions and academics. I am very glad to tell you that the two of them have been very lively and active since we left. They both took first positions in their just concluded exam. You are such a blessing to us. Thank you very much." So now that's just one out of the many feedbacks that we have coming from therapy. Now while like one of the things you said the other time, therapy does not necessarily tell you this is what you should do, right? But therapy helps you to bring clarity to exactly what is happening, and then we use scientific proven techniques and research-based techniques. So it's different from some people. I've heard people say that so you just want me to come there and talk and then they'll collect my money. It's beyond talk, right? Because we are not just talking from our head. This is what we have been trained for. We have strategies, we have tools, we have professional interventions that have been used over time by science, and that research has proven has helped people to navigate life difficulties. So you should expect that in therapy you will find healing. Yes, you'll find healing. So therapy is not it's not like I was interviewed somewhere and then we were talking the question was whether therapy was a luxury or is a luxury, and then in my mind I'm like, luxury, because we've had a lot of people who have presented themselves in therapy and they actually had their life back.
Whoa, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. In fact, that's quite a lot, and I know that a lot of people would have taken what they need from this conversation, the conversation we have had so far. There's a part I also want to add to what you have said as a non-professional anyways. I feel like if you as a high performing woman, for instance, do not get to that point where your mindset shifts to the sense that therapy is not a luxury. You'd always find yourself in that space where you are oversharing and confiding in the wrong people. I was discussing with my sister-in-law recently, and she said something very significant to me. She said that there are people who genuinely want to help you, and you feel free and you're just talking to them, saying so many things that you should ordinarily not share with someone who is not a professional therapist. You understand? And at the end of the day, some of those things that you say may come back to haunt you.
Sure.
So as a person who probably knows that I'm going far in life, I'm just saying, like, yeah, as someone who knows that you're probably going far in life, you have dreams, you have some big goals. Maybe you feel like in the next 10 years, God spare my life, I'll probably be the governor, I'll probably be a commissioner, you know, a high value person, so to say. We should normalize therapy.
I tell you.
You should normalize therapy because there are things that you ordinarily should not share with someone who is not a professional. Because no matter how good their intentions are, it will get to a point where, because they are not trained to keep those things
At all,
they would also say those things to people they are not supposed to say it. And it does not make them bad people. It does not. And in a way, it now starts to strain your relationship with people, because, well, you are the one who went to tell them, and they don't even owe you to, like, keep the secret to them. Because now somebody was saying, I think it was in church, and the person was saying that, do you know that when people come and onboarding, like, they say they feel light, do you know that that they are talking to, you are taking it on? And that's why I know that even you therapists, you too should do therapy sometimes, because
we have what we call
onboarding
session.
Yeah,
for
because he said,
ourselves.
and that struck me. He said, because the person you are, when they say I feel light, so where did the burden go? I like, God, I've never seen it this way. So that's why you say that sometimes I don't think therapy is expensive, honestly.
It's not supposed to be negotiated.
I don't think so.
Because at the end of the day, the upside of not doing therapy costs more. Because at the end of the day, it costs hospital admission. That's if you do not take therapy. I tell people that you now see get admitted at the end of the day, many of them did not plan it to be like that. But because there was no early intervention, right? That's why we have some of this suicide attempts. That's why we have some of these hospitalizations. That's why we have people losing their jobs. You know, it gets to a point that the symptoms get so chronic that it begins to affect work productivity.
Whoa. Thank you so much, because really, I think we have just got to that point I want us to get to, which is the point where we have been able to establish that therapy is important. In fact, not just for women, for everyone.
Yeah.
It's a point where there's a point where you must get to, and you understand that, especially if you can afford it. And we cannot just continue this conversation. You know, we also have to, like, create advocacy to the point that government needs to support mental health therapists in Nigeria, because we will not, like, a lot of people cannot actually afford it as much as they want. Me, as I am now, I know that I need to even go for another therapy again, and I don't want to do free therapy. I want to I want to pay for it and go for it. So really, I hope that the relevant authorities are listening and they start to pay more attention and support the work that to people who have decided to stay, because I know that this is a big deal outside Nigeria. It's something that pays so well. So people who have decided to stay back and practice this profession in Nigeria really need to be supported, and I hope that they are listening and they will do the needful. So before we go, I will just call the phone lines again. Even if it's just a phone call, I would like us to take please, we cannot take any call, okay? But I'd like you to just leave your phone numbers, because I know that there are people who would want to get across, and it's not free. Therapy is not free. So you can call Dr. Motolani. She will leave her phone lines now, and then you can tell her what you're going through and get help from her. So please, your phone numbers.
So WhatsApp strictly WhatsApp.
Okay.
08094749281. 08094749281. 08094749281. Strictly WhatsApp. Thank you so much. And you can make reference to the show, Oluwatoyin Adeyemi's show, so that we can give priority to your message.
Thank you so much, Dr. Motolani. Thank you for sharing your expertise and shedding light on women's mental health from both a professional and a compassionate perspective, because I know that your heart is in what you are doing. It's not just about the profession for you. I can testify to that. And that's why I will encourage as many people as possible to reach out to you. So, dear listeners, I want us to round off this way, and it's the fact that your mental health is not a luxury. I see it as a necessity, and I want you to also know that seeking help is not weakness, and that healing is possible. So just reach out. Motolani has given out her phone lines. Reach out to her, and I'm sure that you will be helped. And don't forget, this is the Women's Shelter, where women are seen, where you're heard, and you're supported. My name is Oluwatoyin Adeyemi, and I'll see you again next week, Wednesday, on Melody 100.7 FM. Bye.
Oh Lord, knock it down. I go be your superwoman. You go carry me go the other road.